라면 매장 보는 계좌도 주의적 과시관 현재 성과 시 이다 제전된 담배 주인 견nen데 제시 너무 이거는 우선 내생 게 처음부터 너가 근제 저게 제가 봐 탐색에 도닥에 주된 또 가서라 어떤 비게다 다섯 통마다 이게 상말로 대반인의 대바에 받으면 또 유용 그랬어.
So, generally, all of us have an incredible amount of faith in the, Shakyamuni Buddhas.
원인장 다 뒤니기 때문에 이제 랍자스는 장난도 랍자들에 랍자상 못들에 나랑도 매바 유용 것이랬어.
And also, we have a full conviction in his advice or the teachings which were taught by him.
달라져 상모도 비가 냥솔라미야 비는 가서 음식 가서 라고 세나한테는 이게 치투야게 이 튕긴 상도 요랬어.
So, also, if one were to engage into the practices of this advice or this profound teaching, then one is actually fully qualified to do that. And, one is mostly, free from all these negative conditions or the unfavorable conditions.
다 engaging the indige 마음도 친 튕기는 용으로 친하는 거는 비게 담발랍지는 양년 치고 삼나요? 그거는 situ아요 말이었어.
But in other hand, if the unfavorable conditions are more, and then the favorable conditions or the positive conditions are fewer or less, then even if one has the wish to engage into the practices of the Buddha's teaching, one cannot do so.
나 튕기지 비가 맞아서 engaging 밤마용 잠대는 비게 다 그래서 말씀드리는 다 두고스.
So, before finishing or before generating the positive conditions and before, encountering or before, meeting with the negative conditions, then one should, try to take the advantage of these conditions.
이나야 뭐라도 상말로 지게 그 파르 건전이 당나로 트라냐르지 당 철비게 지금 많이 그면 저게 상말로 하다 비게 때때 주의를 그랬어.
So generally all of us engage into different levels of practice, like some maybe meditating on different deities, and some reciting different mantras, and some doing different recitation and so forth. Just depending on the one's own potential and capacity, we all engage in that sort of practices.
다 뒤에는 비게 가서로 다지 간저 된데 치워면 되고 상황이 좀 마다나 망사의 텐데 있겠어요. 그래야 아닌가요?
So, even that, then, if you do not fully contemplate upon the, the preciousness of the perfect human rebirth, and then, the death and impermanence, then, there's a danger of all this practice becoming, conditioned to fulfill this very life's wishes and this very life's purposes.
근데 아닌가 가려서 말하면서 비게 다지 시야를 비게 가두이는 시베 가는 거 알려면 단다 어디 시면 상상을 삼아지고 단진디 가두이는 안 하길래 야는 지금 고치 한번 가두이는 거 단지고 말안 하길래 야는 시력 배 단다 시력가 돈에 맞대서 배 시면 삼배는 것도 되게 시도 되고 그래서 단진
The reason is because we have this clinging or the grasping in the sense of permanent, that even if one is about to die, like if one is going to die next minute, we still have that clinging in the mind that I'm not going to die. That kind of concept is strongly, dominating within us.
단지도 여바든 단지도 여바 태수도 많아서 샌들도 야가 소문당하는 맛도 지금 지금 편자를 야는 배 상황이 추원을 갈라가고 요랬어.
So long as we have this kind of concept or this kind of attitude, grasping at the permanent, then no, it will only plan to have a favorable things or pleasurable things for this life. We will not consider about our future lifetimes to come.
제가 내가 선을 야다 이모가 되는 줄 쉬기어렸어.
And on top of that, then we have all the, these delusions and dominated by the delusions.
한 단지 직접 이모 맞이 쉬도 다는 거 봐. 내 람도도 배 신주로도 두요. 람도 tamalo 신주로도.
So, with these two negative forces, this grasping at the sense of permanent, and then the delusion, then we do all these things which we're not supposed to be doing or which we're not supposed to do.
그 람도 신주로 치는 거는 배가 어느 처럼 대바 이 비가는 가서 든지 상나요. 미 남조도 말아서 은배 다 도마도 그랬어.
So if one is, engaging into the wrong direction or the mistaken direction by the force of these two, thoughts, then that means one, take the purpose of taking perfect human rebirth is becoming essenceless or becomes useless. That one does not becomes like one of the proper human members.
So
if one is unable to show or if one is unable to take the advantage of the proper human rebirth, then I know that would be the same as the animal's life or the animal's rebirth. We have this clinging or the grasping at the sense of permanent, and on top of that, then we have this spontaneous, self-grasping attitude is always there. So so long as we have this self-grasping attitude, then we always mistake. We always cling that we were totally mistaken with the suffering being a pleasure. So if one is able to counteract, the self-grasping attitude, then one will not develop sense of clinging or attachment towards the pleasures of the cycle of existence or whatever is happening in the cycle of existence. The reason why most of our attitude or the mind is not directed towards the spiritual path or towards the practice is because the attitude or our mind is the force to engage into the worldly activities much more powerful, much more dominating than that of the spiritual side. So then because of that, then we always have full concern about oneself alone. Like I'm feeling hungry or cold or thirsty or so forth. And we always concern about one's own food, clothes, and shelter, and so on. And then because of this attitude, or disturbed by this attitude, then it is very hard for our mind to be directed towards the spiritual path, which is helpful for the future lifetimes to come. So if one doesn't want to use one's body, speech, and mind for the worldly activities or for the worldly way of living, then one should consider and check or investigate carefully in this point.
성경하지 않아서 걸어가고 그랬어.
But although we like pretending to be engaging into the practice of spiritual path, which is meant to be the beneficial, work for the future lifetimes, but it is very hard for us to engage into the pure way of practice. Although like to have these three activities purely is very hard, such as at the motivation at the beginning or the preliminary level at the beginning, and then the actual practice and the concluding practice. We never actually complete these three levels of practice in proper and pure way. So although it is very short time that one is engaging in any form of practice, one must engage in pure form and more proper way. So if one does, properly and purely, very short moment in one day and continue in similar way, then, by accumulating in this kind of way, then, one have the possibility, later on, to also engage in longer duration of practice in proper and pure manner.
제가 야고에 제배서는 저는 야고에 맞을 텐데 쉬어 매번 대장 거 주셔나 근데 되게 돌아 비다와 매번 그랬어.
So on the other hand, if one doesn't engage into the practice properly and pure way, then no matter how long one engage into the practice, it's just matter of waste of time. And then later on, if one is really investigating whether one has practiced properly or not, then there you find that one didn't do good, and there's also a sense of regret is there. So two worries may develop there. So even if it is very limited, very short time, then one shouldn't let go under one's practice under the influence of the delusions. So if one's practice is under the influence of attachment and anger, then no matter even if one practices entire one's life, that doesn't maybe benefits for the future lifetimes to come at all. So that whatever amount of practice that one carrying on in daily life, then the objective should be the highest one. One shouldn't merely attach towards the attainment of the higher rebirth in the future, and also should not attach towards one's own self-liberation. Instead, seek or instead dedicate towards the attainment of the definite goodness, or that is the highest state of the enlightenment. Because within the definite goodness, then there you have two levels. The individual liberations, or the oneself is the liberation only for oneself, and then the liberation for others. That is the highest enlightenment states.